Hello and welcome back to I'll Watch What They're Watching, where we're curious and adamant about cinema. My name is Kiri, and I am one of your hosts.
And I'm Adam.
And today we are talking about movie musicals. We have both kind of had this a little bit on the brain with Wicked Part 2 for Good coming out in, it's like a week or two, isn't it?
Yeah, 21st, so I think that's a week from Friday. Or Thursday if you live anywhere outside of Yakima, Washington, but I'll get it on Friday.
Right. And we talked about this a little bit before. You have seen part 1,
Yep.
and you liked it enough.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Oh, okay. I knew that you said you had a couple complaints, but you liked it quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I think in general, Allie and I saw it in Kansas City a couple of years back. Both Allie and I saw it, and afterwards we're kind of like, this is like the musical that people are like, this is amazing, and we're like, story.
So you saw it live. You saw the stage production a few years ago. Oh, okay.
We were both kind of like, it's just kind of interesting, and it's kind of a cool concept for what it does, but we both felt like it really fell apart plot wise. And so we just kind of left kind of like, that was interesting. And like, the music's great and all that. And we had a great cast, obviously. But yeah, so we kind of walked in. And so I am very curious. So far, the buzz around part 2 seems to be close to part 1, that people really like it. People think it'll get Oscar noms and be this big thing. I'm interested to see what they do with the plot, because I think it is one that historically people generally agree kind of falls apart towards the end, but
it does.
I think they did part 1 well. I think it sets it up to be in a fun spot, but we'll see.
Yeah, because my history with this musical is my cousin showed it to me when I was younger. I did kind of fall in love with it instantly. Like I think I ended up having the CD. I either bought it or had it gifted to me 2 or 3 times because I listened to it so much that it started skipping. And that's the thing is, I'm like, I know that there's no way it got scratched because it has not left the boombox. So I do dearly, dearly love Wicked. And two, it's kind of a funny joke. Like, people joke that Idina Menzel sang, like, not only did she play a lesbian in Rent, but then she sang 2 like gay anthems with both Defying Gravity and Let It Go, which is kind of funny.
But you haven't seen part 1, and so you're still this huge Wicked lover, and you haven't seen part 1. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I have seen the stage production once. I saw it in London on West End. Loved it. Fell in love with it. I do think you're right. It's pretty widely considered that, like, the first act is quite strong. The second act, I think, has too much narrative and too much story. Like, just sort of ham-fisted in there without a whole lot of sometimes necessary exposition. I tend to be a little bit gun-shy not with movie musicals, but when a stage production is converted to film, because they are 2 distinctly different mediums, and that is not easy to do. I've seen musicals that are beloved, Les Mis, that then go to a movie and it's like, oh, what happened? What did we do, guys? Something didn't work.
For the record, I do enjoy the Les Mis we got back a few years ago.
So Wicked. So when I heard that they were making a movie, I kind of entered with a bit of, I wanted to be excited, but I was, I think, feeling a lot of trepidation. And you know how I feel about movies that are too long for no reason. And so when I heard that part 1 was longer than the entirety of the musical, I was basically like, hell no. I did see some clips. I do think there's some really good merit to it. And I genuinely think if I watched it, when I watch it, I will be seeing it before I go see part 2. Because now I run a movie podcast with you, and so now I have to see things. I think I'm gonna like it. I think I'm gonna have a good time, and I am genuinely excited to see what happens with part 2, because I'm hoping that they're going to be able to, kind of offer a little more exposition, make some of the narrative flow a little bit better, give it a little bit more time to breathe. And I mean, I am very excited to hear Cynthia Erivo sing the song No Good Deed. So yeah, I will. You're planning on seeing it in theaters as well, correct? Part 2?
Yeah, I don't know what day we'll 'Cause I think that week, I think is when Rental Family comes out, which is one of the top ones on my watch list.
Yes.
And so I'll probably catch that Friday night. We basically just have to figure out finding a babysitter so that Allie can come with me to go see Wicked Part 2. So
Of course.
we'll figure that out at some point. We don't have many plans around Thanksgiving, so yes, we will see it, and maybe we'll do a more extended episode on it, except for this is kind of our episode on it without talking about Wicked. So
Right. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure, in one later date in the next week or two, I will weigh in on how I feel about Wicked Part 1, but I'm sure you and I will both be talking about Wicked Part 2 because we both have plans to see it. But I once again am the world's busiest / not put together movie person, so I have once again seen nothing this week. I know you saw a few things. I'm committed to seeing at least one film this week. I am wanting to see 2, but I've just been working overtime on the weekends, and I'm wanting to make time during the week. So I am committing right here on the podcast. I will have seen 1 by next week, probably 2. But I know you've seen a few things.
yeah, I thought about going to the theaters twice, Friday, Saturday, but opted out on Saturday. So Friday I did see Predator Badlands. Packed theater. There was a trailer for Mortal Kombat 2. One guy sitting in the front row was like, I gotta see that one. This looks awesome. I was just like, yeah, you go off, King. I will not be joining you, but go for it.
But you have fun.
Yeah, so Predator Badlands was awesome. It's PG-13 for some reason. I think because technically there are 0 human characters. So they can get away with, killing a bunch of monsters and synthetics and stuff, and it doesn't count as humans, so it's PG-13, but in
Gotcha.
spirit, it's still I'm trying to think of a good comparison. I've seen some people throw around Kong Skull Island, which I think is fairly good comparison, but it's just a really well put together movie. The plot is like straightforward, not too complicated, not too dumb, but like straightforward enough to be engaged with and to have a good time. There's some emotional weight to it. There's some depth, like just really well put together, a really, really solid movie, like a movie that's not trying to be 5-star perfect movie, but kind of knows what it is and does really good at what it does. So I highly recommend Predator Badlands for anybody, minus people that don't love lots of sword fights and cutting monsters in half and such, explosion.
And you said, because I've thought about doing like an Alien / Predator, full watch through, and then I end up getting past Aliens, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to watch Alien 3. And so it never happens. But you said it doesn't necessarily require previous experience with the franchise to really kind of go into it, right?
That's correct. It's pretty obvious that the modern day interpretations are building towards getting back to a Alien versus Predator deal.
Interesting. Okay.
Everything they're doing is obviously setting that up, which I think will be really fun. Alien vs. Predator 2, famously, I haven't seen it, but is famously like the worst shot movie ever. Everything is so dark, you can't see what's going on.
Right.
So I'm excited. Within the next few years, there'll be some sort of Alien vs. Predator in the modern era, and I think it will likely be pretty good. So there's just kind of like Easter eggs, I would say, to where you could walk in and Predator Badlands could be your first ever exposure, and you wouldn't be confused at all. It's very straightforward and helps you along the way to know exactly what's going on. So
cool.
It's great. And then I was going to go see Die, My Love, the new Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson. Lynn Ramsey's the director who usually, as far as I understand, her movies are usually like a little less accessible and a little bit more like these are messy, complicated characters and you may not necessarily like them. It also got a D+ cinema score. So if anyone doesn't, so there's, lots of different ways to rate movies. There's IMDb, there's Rotten Tomatoes, and there's different ways that they rate them. And cinema score basically asks people who saw the movie, would you recommend this movie to anyone else? yes or no, and they compile it to give this letter grade. And so D plus, obviously, on a typical grade
Yeah.
scale is not great.
Mhm.
Which again, it doesn't mean I think I would dislike it necessarily. People that I follow, like reviewers, tend to generally kind of like it. And so I think I probably would like it. I wasn't really in the mood, so I didn't end up going, but I will catch it eventually.
Yeah. I will say this because it's hovering around 70s on Rotten Tomatoes, hovering around
Mm-hmm.
70s on Metacritic. I will say this though, one of my favorite directors, Amy Nicholson, she writes for the LA Times. She also does a podcast called Unspooled that I really like with Paul Scheer. She did give it 2.5 stars.
Okay.
So that does give me pause.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
Because we tend to line up pretty darn close. She did give that one 2.5, but she did say that Jennifer Lawrence is diving in the deep end. Like she's giving a performance here. And I mean, they really are. Those two are both solid actors. So part of me is kind of like, it might be worth it just for the acting, but overall, I'm not. Yeah, I haven't landed on that one. The two movies I want to see this week are there's an animated movie that premiered at Cannes called Little Amelie that I want to see. You have kind of piqued my interest with Predator Badlands.
Yeah, like we keep saying, lots of great movies coming out. But let's get into our top threes. This is our
Yes.
first episode doing a top three instead of a top five. The only reason is just time. Covering lots of movies, we just cut it down just to manage our time a little bit better because we can talk for a long time.
We sure can. So I would say let's just dive right in. Why don't you kick us off with your number 3?
Yeah, my number 3, again, this is movie musicals. This is a movie I think I wanted to include something that wasn't just all post 2000 movies. So I didn't want to get canceled because there are lots of good musicals and not just recent ones coming out. And I just saw Blue Moon, so I should probably get a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical in there. So I did choose 1965's The Sound of Music. This is directed by Robert Wise.
I love that you picked this one.
Yes, with music by Rodgers and Hammerstein, starring Julie Andrews, Christopher Plummer. This is just kind of one of those ones that everybody has seen The Sound of Music, or at least knows enough the music within it to be familiar with it, right? So I won't go too much into the details of the plot, minus a few things a little bit later on. So you're excited about this one. I assume this is one that you hold close as well.
Yeah, this is one of, my mom's all-time favorites. So yeah, I mean, I grew up with this. It's long, but I love it. It's like a perfect, Sunday afternoon movie. It just makes me Julie Andrews can do no wrong. And so I just think, she's lovely in this. I think it's fun. The music is wonderful. It's just, this movie feels like a warm hug for me. It didn't make my list because there are just some that I think are better, but I do have a lot of love for this film.
Yeah, you mentioned Julie Andrews, and she really is fantastic and was not well known when they were casting this movie, although she did already do Mary Poppins. And so they basically asked if they could see some of the footage of Mary Poppins, and they watched for like 10 minutes and then said, okay, go get her before anyone else sees this. So they kind of knew immediately. But there were some other, I think Aubrey Hepburn was a name that floated along for a while to play. But, I think Julie Andrews is what does this film justice and does everything that makes it so wonderful. It's adapted from the 1959 stage musical, and the music for that was Rodgers and Hammerstein. The 1959 stage musical, though, was adapted from a 1956 West German film, which was adapted from a 1949 memoir, The Story of the Trapp Family Singers by Maria von Trapp. And it's a little bit of a sad story as far as all these different productions and different things. And they were not necessarily well off for a lot of this period that they were doing the actual Trapp Family Singers. So the West German film in 1956 was kind of a bad deal where they wanted $10,000 for to give to Maria von Trapp for the story. She asked for royalties on the back end, and they lied to her and said, we can't give royalties to non-German citizens. And so eventually her agent offered her $9,000 cash at the time for just done deal. One time we'll give you $9,000 cash, which is equivalent to like $100,000 today. And she took it. So she got nothing for that. Luckily, the good news is she did get something on the actual musical movie we have today. So that's, kind of a good ending, but still it's kind of sad that throughout this process they were not necessarily taken care of the best. So a couple other quick just fun facts. The boat scene where they're in the boat, she stands up, she falls off. Right before they filmed that, they told Julie Andrews, hey, the little one can't swim. So when you fall out, you need to get to her quick. And like right before she went out, and she says even today, like, I would not have done this if they had given me more time. And like, that's scary to do that.
Yeah.
But you'll see when she stands up in the scene, she falls backwards and all the kids fall forward. That was a mistake. So she was not supposed to fall backwards, because then she was on the other side of the boat from the little one. And so I think one of the other older kids helped the little one, but it was kind of this scary thing going on. And you should always take care of people and be careful about things.
Yeah.
But the really fun part about this movie for us, again, it was something that we would watch growing up. And you mentioned it's very long. So we had this in a 2 VHS tape movie. But for one reason or another, the second part of our VHS tape wasn't there. It was missing, whatever. So we would watch this every once in a while, and we would watch, the first part of this movie, whatever. So then it had some sort of, I don't know, DVD, Blu-ray release sometime later on, and we're watching this, and the intermission happens right when they sing the goodnight song. And so the goodnight song happens, and the movie keeps going. And my brother and I are sitting there, and we're like, what's going on here? And the rest of our family looks at us, and they're like, what do you mean? And we're like, there's more? And they're like, yeah, there's 2 parts to this.
You only saw the first half.
We only saw the first half. So we had no
That's
idea.
hilarious.
They run from the Nazis. They go across the Alps, and we had no idea. We thought it ended at the first half. It's a pretty,
That's crazy.
It's not a perfect story, but it ends pretty clearly. They give the goodnight song, and they're going to bed, and like, nice little story, nice little family, and no. There's a second half.
It does have a little cliffhanger, though, because it ends with Maria leaving.
Yeah, nice little story.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Yeah, so that's always been kind of a fun one for us that we never, again, it's just one of those things, how are we to know? And then you have this other opportunity to watch this movie, and all of a sudden there's a whole nother second half.
Oh my gosh.
The music is great, right? It's just so kind of uplifting and happy and somber at times as well, obviously. I think Do Re Mi is just such a magical song. It's something that, if you're in choir or whatever, you're so familiar with it and all these different things. I'm not in choir, but I'm just saying for anyone that is. I think it's interesting as well. I was reading up on a little bit about it, that when they translate the song into different languages, they will transfer the sounds that language uses for each of the notes.
Oh, interesting.
And kind of change it a little bit different than they would maybe do for another translation of music.
I like that.
Just a fun time, a great musical, enjoyable, even to watch something that, like we've talked about on this podcast, even a movie that's 60 years old can be just as fun as a movie that came out yesterday. And I think this is a great example of something that's just a delight. So that is The Sound of Music.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I'm going to give just a brief little honorable mention. I wanted to put Wizard of Oz on my list.
Okay.
Because I love it very, very much. I decided that I wanted to do just because of a top 3, I wanted a little bit of a variety. So I ended up picking like a more modern musical, one animated, and one classic. So because I could only
Okay,
pick one
perfect.
classic, I didn't pick Wizard of Oz, but I do want to I almost like scrapped this whole idea because I was looking at modern musicals and I thought of, Chicago and Tick, Tick, Boom and In the Heights, and I was like, none of these are better than Wizard of Oz. I found one that I still don't think is better than Wizard of Oz. So I do want to just mention Wizard of Oz, and it will, themes of that will come up in my number 2 and my number 1 as well. But this one I do feel like is kind of the best of the modern movie musicals, and that is 2016's La La Land.
Okay.
So, directed and written by Damien Chazelle, starring Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. If you haven't seen this, it's kind of this story. Both Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are these hopeful wannabes, coming to California. Emma Stone wants to be a famous actress, and Ryan Gosling wants to have his own jazz club and just kind of, celebrate jazz music. And they run into each other at a party. A relationship starts between them, and I won't spoil the end, but I mean, there's a lot about this that I think is really, really cool. And I'll talk about the story a little bit, but I really don't want to spoil this one because I think a lot of its impact is the end. Have you've seen this, right?
Yeah, no, not gonna lie, when I saw your list, when we were sharing notes, I was like, how did this one not come across as I was thinking of these? I think this very well could have landed in a top 5 of mine. This is really very, very an incredible movie. One of the defining movies, I'd say, of the last decade.
Agreed. Yeah, I think I even wrote on my notes, I said, kind of redefine modern movie musical. It holds the records for the most nominations of a film for the Oscars. So it has, I think, 14. Kidding. Tied with like The Lady Eve and possibly Titanic.
And it won Best Picture, right?
Yeah, shut up. So we all know about the debacle. It won Best Picture for about 35 seconds, and then they said, just kidding, we goofed. Moonlight won. But it did win 6 or 7 other Oscars. So Emma Stone won for Best Lead Actress. It won Best Directing, Best Cinematography, Best Score, Best Original Song for City of Stars, and Best Production Design. And just some kind of fun facts. Gosling actually learned all the music for it. So he practiced 2 hours, 6 days a week until he could play all the piano music he needed to play, like by memory, so that they didn't have to do any sort of like CGI with it. That is Ryan Gosling's hand, playing literally every moment that's him at the piano. That's him at the piano.
That's awesome.
Playing the actual notes.
I love that.
And then the very famous scene at Twilight. It's the cover of the poster and the movie cover. They shot that 2 days, 5 takes, because they only had 30 minutes to do that scene before. Because it's Twilight. You have like this 20-30 minute window. That was the window they had to shoot. So they did 3 takes one day, 2 takes another day, and the 4th take, I think, was the one they used. And then the song, there was one song that was sung live, because most of the time with musicals, they sing it and then it's dubbed over. It's sung in a studio, they make it sound pretty and nice, and then it's dubbed over so that it sounds good. That's why Les Mis kind of had some buzz, because the whole thing was live. But Emma Stone's song that she sings for the audition, Fools Who Dream, that she sung completely live because Damien Chazelle really wanted her to have a lot of control over that song, over that scene. That is this really powerful, emotional scene. So he had the pianist in a separate room, and they were feeding the piano through. She had an earpiece in, and that's how she could hear the piano playing for it, so she could sing along. But that was not done in the studio. That was all live, so that she could decide which parts she, like, kind of when she wanted to sing. Because, she starts out speaking where it's just dialogue, and then she kind of starts singing, but then there's a couple moments that are more spoken. So they wanted her to have complete control over what parts were spoken, what parts were sung, like just complete control over that scene. So
wow, that's awesome.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun, like you said, just for a musical. Again, I won't spoil the ending, but this does say a little bit. So if you want to skip ahead about 30 seconds, go ahead. This movie took a while to get greenlit because so many studios kept saying, to Damien Chazelle, they were like, instead of jazz, we want you to do rock. We want Ryan Gosling's character to be a rock star, like a classic rock guy, and we want them to end up together at the end.
Yeah.
And Chazelle said, no, those are two very, like, important, but, like, I can't flex on that. That changes the story. That changes the message.
That's the whole point, those two things.
Yeah. And so he kept just saying, no, 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 finally got it greenlit. And again, it was a hit. I remember everyone talking about this movie. Because, yeah, this came out, I had just gotten home from my mission, and I remember just everyone talking about this movie. That very first opening showstopper number, in the California traffic I think it's super, super fun. The Waste of a Lovely Night that Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone sing with that Twilight scene that I mentioned, Fools Who Dream. Like, there's just so much about this movie that is really, really fun, and I think really, really magical. And I think it captures the spirit of, like, a movie musical and I think part of the reason it succeeds so much is it was made for film. It wasn't staged then adapted to film. Like, this movie was made, the script was written with a movie in mind, and I think it works really, really well.
Yeah, I think this is probably a 5 out of 5 movie for me.
This is a 4.5 for me.
Just hearing you talk about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this movie really is basically perfect and enjoyable, and just a really, like you said, kind of this modern take that really takes so many elements from classic Hollywood and just a love for LA and just a love for art and kind of how the passion of that all kind of plays together and what it means and it's really, really well done.
Yeah. So it felt like that as far as modern day musicals go. I felt like there's a lot that I quite enjoy. I just felt like this was kind of the cream of the crop.
Great.
But let's head on over to your number 2.
Yeah, let's head on over to another modern day musical. This one was such a pleasant surprise when we watched this movie, and it is 2021's Tick, Tick, Boom. So within the last 5 years, this came out. It's directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. It's his directorial debut in film, starring Andrew Garfield. And this musical is it's really interesting. It's written kind of mostly by Jonathan Larson, who wrote Rent. But it's sort of this ever-evolving, semi-biographical musical where he would change things over time and, like, kind of adjust different things about it. And the story wasn't always coherent, but he would add little things here and there. But ultimately, so very tragically, Jonathan Larson actually died the night of the first preview of Rent. And so
he never got to see the musical on stage.
Exactly. And it's just so tragic. Part of the story really with Tick, Tick, Boom is just kind of him trying to it's not Rent, but him trying to get his musical off the ground and see it be successful and just the struggles of that. So that undercurrent of knowing that he died before he saw the tremendous success that Rent eventually had. It's just so, so sad.
I was just talking to my mom about this movie, and because I also do love Rent. Most queer people do. And I remember talking to my mom about it because I was just like, oh, it's so sad and so heartbreaking. And she goes, this is kind of a morbid thought, but I almost wonder if he had to pass away in order for Rent to get the recognition that it really needed to have.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's true. It's hard to tell, but I do think, Lin-Manuel Miranda has said that In the Heights and Hamilton wouldn't exist without Rent first.
Yeah.
And just everything that Rent has done for theater and for the queer community and, for people of color in theater. Rent needed to get the popularity and the attention it did. So anyway.
No, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And obviously a death is a tragedy. And this one especially, he went to the hospital, to 2 different hospitals leading up to his death, and he was just misdiagnosed both times. And eventually they settled some, lawsuits for that. But it's just so sad.
Yeah.
There is the Jonathan Larson Performing Arts Foundation that happened right after, and eventually that got moved into the American theater wing of this scholarship. And basically, this group gives sort of little grants to creators that are trying to, do something artistic or do something beautiful. So,
Yeah.
and like you said, his legacy is so broad and so overarching. I love musicals because so often I just feel like transported into that world. A good musical, you feel
Mm-hmm.
like you're not
Yes.
just watching it, you're like a part of it, like you're a bystander
Yes.
watching. And I think that's the feeling that I had the first time that we watched it. Because it was kind of, we were fans of Lin-Manuel Miranda. We love Andrew Garfield. We saw that this was dropping on Netflix. We're like, yeah, let's turn this on a Friday night. And we were just transfixed. We were like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And I
Mm.
think from the beginning, it starts with the song 3090, which is maybe one of my favorite songs from a musical ever. Just
Yeah.
anytime Allie or I hear the beginning piano playing, we both just like look at each other, chills, just like, oh my gosh, here it comes.
Yeah.
It's just so good. And so I love what you shared about Ryan Gosling, because Andrew Garfield, same thing, does not play piano.
Yeah. He also couldn't sing.
Yeah. So he spent an entire year preparing for this role. And again, he kind of talks about like, as you get older, you're less of a sponge. You're kind of this crusty, dried up sponge. So it's harder to learn some new skills. And so same thing he had. And there's this kind of fun story where they were kind of just playing around and trying to kind of get him to feel comfortable. And I think Lin-Manuel Miranda or someone turned on some Huey Lewis in the News song that they knew that Andrew
Uh,
Garfield really liked and knew the piano part too. And he played along, and he said that's when he kind of felt like Jonathan Larson was unlocked and that he could start playing it.
mm,
This is one of my favorite performances from an actor in recent memory that I can think of. He was nominated for Best Actor, didn't win it,
mm-hmm.
but it is incredible. And I think, again, it was one of those experiences. If you've listened to our Sing Sing episode, when I first watched it, and at the end, you see the real people, and you're like, hold on, time out. So for Allie and I, when we were first watched it, and at the end, it shows Jonathan Larson, and we were like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, that's like Andrew Garfield just played Jonathan Larson like perfectly.
Yeah.
His mannerisms, the way that he sings, it's just absolutely incredible and can't speak highly enough.
Totally agree. Down to little eye shifts, like little ticks that he has. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Yeah, I really enjoyed Tick Tick Boom.
And there's just this like frantic energy to it all that is so exciting, just gets you into it. I love it too. Like I don't want to spoil it too. Fast forward 30 seconds if you need to. There's the one scene where he's like reconciling with his girlfriend, and he starts like, he can feel the music coming of this reconciliation moment, and she realizes and stops and is like, you can't. So again, it kind of goes back. We've talked about kind of creativity and art and how the separation between other things and how that happens. And this movie captures so much of that so well. And again, the ending is just really powerful. It's similar to Rent, obviously, in the way that early experiences of the AIDS crisis or LGBTQ community, and just kind of how much progress we've needed to make in a lot of that area, and how much there's still to make, obviously. But I think just gives really good perspective, really good story. And Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think for a while he's kind of had this arc of being really, really popular, and then people kind of looked down on him for a while. And I think maybe now it's more of like, yeah, he is a modern day genius. And I forgot to mention this kind of with the story in general, since it was this kind of ever evolving semi-biographical musical. Lin-Manuel Miranda and Stephen Levinson, who wrote the script with him, they did a lot of additional research with conversations with family and friends, and accessing different notes in the Library of Congress of some of Jonathan Larson's thoughts and early writings. And that helps to color a lot of story and even different characters. Like they talk to a couple different people and they're like, oh, so you should like be in this because you were there. And they're like, yeah. So just kind of a fun way to do all that. But anyways, Lin-Manuel Miranda's great. And I'm okay saying that. And I know people, some aren't a big fan, but I am. I think he's great.
I think anyone who wrote, The Room Where It Happens and Satisfied deserves some, some recognition for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm again was glad to see that on your list because I also really enjoy Tick Tick Boom. It's kind of maybe a 4-star movie for me, so it didn't quite make my top 3, but I was very happy to see it on yours.
Yeah, honestly, probably another 5-star for me.
So my number 2, like I said, I wanted to have a modern, an animated, and a kind of classic musical on my list. So this will come as a shock to absolutely nobody that my number 2 is 1991's Beauty and the Beast.
Awesome. We watched with Oliver like 3 weeks ago. I don't think I told you that.
Oh, teaching him while I was young. I love it.
Yeah.
I did think about, I molded over and was like, well, there's Aladdin and Little Mermaid, and, there's Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, but I really wanted to capture, like, what did the musical thing the best. And I feel like Beauty and the Beast just did it.
Okay.
So, directed by Gary Truesdale and Kirk Wise, who then went on to do many more. There's like 50 people, and by 50, I mean probably like 17 people who are listed under the story, but the screenplay was written by Linda Wolverton, and then it's starring Paige O'Hara and Robbie Benson. And they were actually the last ones where the voice actor and singing actor was the same person until Princess and the Frog.
No kidding.
So Mulan, Aladdin, different vocalists from the voice actor for the character of like Jasmine is not the person who did the singing voice.
Okay.
But Beauty and the Beast, it was. So the reason I picked it is because it really is such a musical. It's got the ballads. Like when I think of musicals, I think of the big ballads, and it's got that with, the Belle Reprise. It's got that with Beauty and the Beast. You've got the Showstopper with Be Our Guest, and with the opening. I mean, the opening number, Belle, is such like an opening number. It is such a showstopper. You've got it's a big ensemble thing. You're introducing Belle, you're introducing Gaston. It's this it's a perfect setup. And it was the first animated Disney movie to go to Broadway, to be converted into a Broadway show. So it came out in 1991, was converted into a Broadway show in 1994. And the person who actually played Belle is also the voice of Meg in Hercules.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
So she actually had said there were times where there was one time she was on Broadway and Alan Menken went to see it, and in the intermission he came back to her and he was like, just FYI, up there, you're not playing Belle, you're playing Meg. And she was like, oh my gosh, you're right, I've been like a sassy Belle. And so she like had to kind of like readjust and tone it down for Act 2.
No kidding,
but
that's funny.
Just a couple other kind of fun things about Beauty and the Beast. Again, I could and have talked about this all day, so I will not do it that much, but it did win 2 Oscars. It won score and song. It was also nominated for Best Picture and I think 2 other songs and sound. So it was, I want to say I think it's the animated, it's tied with, I think maybe one other, but it has like some of the most Oscars for an animated film. Oscar nominations.
Okay.
And I've mentioned this before, but just kind of little, again, fun facts for people who haven't listened to other episodes. So Angela Lansbury thought that another character should sing The Tale as Old as Time, Beauty and the Beast. She didn't think that Mrs. Potts should be the one to sing it. So they kind of told her like, okay, well, why don't you come in, do one take of it, and we'll keep it like as a backup. So she came in, she got on a plane, flew, did a one take, and that is the version that ended up in the film.
Love
that one take of Angela Lansbury.
Such a good story.
Yes, good stuff. Just kind of some info about the Beast. A lot of the sculptures that you see in the castles, like the different gargoyles and monsters and stuff, not all, but a lot of those sculptures are actually early versions of the Beast before they finally like came to the design that they came to.
That's cool.
Glenn Keane, who I've talked about before, who is a animation god, did the design for the Beast. He also did Ariel, but then he was the one who did the Beast. And for the Beast, he wanted to create kind of like this big hybrid beast. So he did the mane of a lion, the beard and head structure of a buffalo, the tusks and nose bridge of a wild boar, the heavily muscled brow of a gorilla, the legs and tail of a wolf, and the big and bulky body of a bear. But he also has blue eyes, and that is the one physical feature that does not change whether he is beast or a human.
Wow.
And then, again, just some other things. There were 1,295 painted backgrounds for this film and 120,000 drawings to create this film.
You love to hear it.
We love to hear it. Belle's outfit and hair were actually inspired by Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. They wanted to have that kind of, so her outfit, they wanted the blues and whites because they wanted to kind of show this similar idea of, you know, this young woman who is in this boring provincial town, this farm, you know, whatever, who is swept off into this fantasy adventure, basically. Mm-hmm. So the hair and outfit were heavily inspired by Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. And then they did some really cool things with colors that I love in this, kind of along with Belle's outfit. So no one else in the village is wearing blue. Belle is the only one shown with blue in her costume.
Interesting.
And to really contrast the blue, they then put Gaston in red as kind of this vibrant contrast to the color. And it's really cool because then when you first meet the Beast, he is wearing a cape that has red. And then by the Something There song, the cape is now blue and white. Mm-hmm. And then by the time you get to the Beauty and the Beast song, he is wearing a full blue suit. So you kind of see that shift of, you know, this almost sort of hyper-masculine, aggressive persona shifting into this softer blue, which I think is
so cool.
Lovely.
And I love when movies do stuff like that you really have to kind of pay really close attention and you maybe don't catch your first time or two seeing, but it's something that is like so intentional, and just by watching it you feel that transition, but you maybe don't realize until it's pointed out to you like that. So like I don't know that I'd ever noticed that, but that is such a cool detail.
It's so funny because I think, you know, I love this movie. I've read countless books on it. I know so much about this film. And as I was kind of doing, you know, research again for this podcast, writing things down, it was just one of those moments where I was like, right, yes, this movie is indeed perfect. Like, every time I find out something new about it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I didn't think it was possible to love it more, but I do. Like, this movie is amazing. So the last thing I just want to mention that was a shift from some of the Disney princess films already established. You already first had Belle kind of reading, being a little more adventurous, and there's some really cool analyses and like interviews with the screenplay writer Linda Wolverton, who, like, she was very thoughtful in wanting this princess to kind of be different. She wanted to kind of usher in a wave of feminism for Disney princesses in her writing of Belle. And so one thing that is, and again, I won't go super, super into it because there's a lot to talk about and we are limited time, but this is the first Disney princess film where the male protagonist is not the one to save the female counterpart, like near the climax. So you have that with Snow White and the Kiss. You have it with, you know, Cinderella and the prince, you know, hunting down, saving her from her life with the stepmother and stepsisters. Sleeping Beauty, you have the kiss. Little Mermaid, you have, you know, Prince Eric ramming the ship into Ursula. This doesn't happen with this one. I mean, there is the showdown between Gaston and the Beast, but it's not like Belle being saved. She's not even there. She only shows up at the very, very end. And the only words that the Beast says to Gaston, the only interaction they have, the only two words the Beast says is get out. He beats him. He says, get out. And I think it's really especially interesting because if you really, really look at it, it is actually the female who saves the male in the climax. Mm-hmm. Her having love and saying, I love you, is what causes the Beast to, you know, what causes the spell to be broken and for the Beast to be saved. So I also just think that's really, really, really interesting that this was the first time where we actually see not only that the male doesn't save the female, but it's the reverse. It's the female who saves the male.
Lovely. You love
Again,
to see it.
Could talk all day. I won't. If anyone ever wants to know about Beauty and the Beast, you can find me on all sorts of social media, and I will send you many essays. But
Perfect.
again, 5-star movie for me. I think it's perfect. I think it's brilliant. I think it's beautiful. But we will swing on over to your number one.
Yes, I would say similar in general theme, but my number one is 2004's The Phantom of the Opera, which I know you have a letterbox score of 3 out of 5 stars for this, which I think is actually generous compared to general critic consensus, which is a 32% on Rotten Tomatoes for this movie, which
Yeah.
genuinely does feel quite low. I mean, I get it. This is my number one movie musical. It's a special place in my heart. 32% feels very, 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 very low for what it is.
If I may, I don't want to steal your number one. I have a few thoughts. I
Please
also
share.
agree that the 30s is low. I originally gave this 3.5 stars when I last watched it a couple years ago.
Okay.
But then the
Acceptable.
next night, I watched the Royal Albert Hall professionally shot stage production, the West End one.
Okay.
And it's really damn good.
Uh-huh.
And so I gave it 4 stars, and I was like, I cannot justify the movie being only half a star worse than this stage production, because the stage production is pretty great. So I bumped it down to 3. I do think 3.5 or 30% is low. I think it's got a few things working against it.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in here because this is another confession.
Yes.
I think maybe it'll get me canceled, at least by you. I think what I've come to realize, and I've thought about this a lot, I don't think I know if someone is a good singer or not. And I think so much of singing is very stylized. And I think of like my favorite bands, one of which is a band called Floor, which most people don't know, and then another Death Cab for Cutie, which many more would know. But like both have very unique voices. And I don't know that people would generally consider them like the greatest singers in the world, but they're very unique for the style of music that they have. So again, you're going to cancel me, but I think even as far as Les Mis with Hugh Jackman and
Russell Crowe,
that doesn't even bother me because I feel like it's very stylized for who that character is and like the song of what it's doing, to where I mean, yeah, I know there's people that sing better, but I think that's my issue. And so for anyone who doesn't know, is that Gerard Butler, who's the Phantom, had no experience singing or anything like that. And so he learned for this. And is the concern, but this is, again, I'm going to get canceled for this. So I think we had...
You're fine.
We had one of the recordings growing up too, and we would listen to it in the car and everything. And I find myself, when I turn this on Spotify, I keep going back to this version. This is just this is my version, and it's what makes me, I don't know. So again, that's you can continue your thought process. So I had to jump in and say, I don't get it. I don't, it's hard for me to understand.
Here's the thing. I don't think Gerard Butler is out and out bad. I know a lot of people who do, who are basically like, oh, Gerard Butler sucks. He's the worst part of the movie, blah, blah, blah. I think, because I have a problem with most of the people in Les Mis. Hugh Jackman is a singer. I think Jean Valjean is out of his range. I don't think he can sing those songs. I don't think he has the vocals for it. Russell Crowe also has theater training. Most of the singers in Les Mis don't work for me. And I think that the problem with Gerard Butler in this is that he is up against Emmy Rossum and Patrick Wilson. And I think that is the problem.
And I didn't realize that was Patrick Wilson until going back to this. And I was like, wait, like horror guy Patrick Wilson?
Yes. So Emmy Rossum, I mean, she had been she was 17 when she made this movie, I think, 17 or 16 or 17, something like that.
When she made this movie?
Yes.
Oh,
Emmy
dear.
Emmy Rossum was a baby when this movie was made.
That's wild.
But she had like classic opera training since she was like 7 or something. So Emmy Rossum, classically trained, beautiful vocalist, flawless, effortless, like perfect. Patrick Wilson, similar, had done tons of stuff on Broadway, classically trained, gorgeous voice. Like, there are a few people who can keep up with Emmy Rossum, in my opinion, and he does. Like, All I Ask of You sounds beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have two really, like, vocally just vocal masters of their class. I appreciate that Gerard Butler poured his heart and soul into this. I really do. Like I know he's talked about how he killed, he's like, I killed myself making it. I appreciate the effort he put in, but I think when you are standing against two musical titans and you are supposed to be playing the titular character,
Right.
the Phantom, I think that's where the problem comes in. I think that's a lot of why he got so much crap. And I think it's just a matter of comparison. He's against two people who sound amazing.
But that's even then, like it looks good, I think. I like the atmosphere is right, the vibes are right. I think the story's still there.
Yeah, the story does well. Joe Schumacher knows how to make a spectacle.
I really don't understand why it is so critically panned. Couple other kind of fun things about it. This movie was announced in 1989 and this released in 2004. And part of it was that Warner Bros. Had the rights and they basically gave Andrew Lloyd Webber total artistic control. And so part of that was Andrew Lloyd Webber being busy and Joel Schumacher being busy because he had Joel Schumacher picked from the beginning. So that's part of why it's just kind of timing of when that all could come together and be what they wanted to be. And it was always, Andrew Lloyd Webber always felt like it needed to be A-listers being in the cast. So with that in mind, do you think Hugh Jackman does a better job than Gerard Butler if it's Hugh Jackman as the Phantom?
Yes, because he has more training. I'm also just not crazy about Hugh Jackman's voice. I think he has kind of a reedy vocal quality. But I also don't think... I think the biggest problem with Les Mis is he does not have a rich enough tone, and I think he cannot hit some of those high notes. Phantom's also got some high notes.
Yeah.
I think he would do better, but... I don't know if I would have necessarily loved him.
He was the choice at the time, actually, and he had a scheduling conflict, and so he wasn't chosen. Also, Katie Holmes was in line to play. I don't know the exact reasons why she dropped out. I don't think she has as much experience and maybe just kind of got to the point where it wasn't working. And she was replaced by Anne Hathaway, who I think would have worked really well. But
I do too.
She had to drop out because she was filming Princess Diaries 2 and she was contractually obligated to film that. And so I think for whatever reason, I would assume, I haven't looked as much into this one as I could have, but I would assume at the time, it'd been many a years that they've been trying to make this movie, that they just moved on and they weren't going to wait for her to be done with that. Yeah, Emmy Rossum's great and I think does this really well. Also, it looks
I
like...
think she's the perfect Christine.
Yeah, and again, I think I saw this movie first time when I was 7 in theaters, so I was a little bit terrified, I think, of it, and maybe that's the appeal of it today, is I'm like one of my maybe first experiences really with the horror genre, honestly. And
interesting.
there's just the idea of like almost taboo love that is just really intriguing and really like exciting, I think, to watch and to kind of just like be in that world. It's just really appealing, really alluring, which I just find fun and great. I haven't seen any of the other adaptations. Like I mentioned, I listened to a few of the other productions. I have seen Phantom of the Paradise, though, which is from the 70s. My dad was really into it, made us watch. We all thought it was really weird at the time. I think if I went back, I would enjoy it a lot more because it's directed by Brian De Palma, who is the very prestige director. Actually directed Mission Impossible 1, which is kind of outside of that lane, but that one's really interesting too. But anyways, yeah, I really love this movie. I don't care if people don't. It works for me. Everything works for me. I think even the Phantom is great, like I mentioned. I even prefer this to a lot of other renditions. Cancel me if you want, but I'm going to live my truth. I love the Phantom of the Opera.
Go for it.
Looks like as of June 2025, Andrew Lloyd Webber suggested that they are working on a remake. So go off.
Yeah, which I think could be really interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, and you know me, I'm generally let's do originals and let's not keep recycling the same ideas, but I'll be there day one for a Phantom of the Opera remake.
Right.
So, what's your number one? I'm excited to hear.
Yeah, so mine, I took what I just think is the quintessential movie musical. I think it's perfect. Like, I think it's fantastic. I think it encompasses everything a movie musical should be, and that is 1952's Singin' in the Rain.
Okay.
So this director, Stanley Donen and Gene Kelly, written by Betty Comden and Adolph Green, starring Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, and Donald O'Connor. Was only nominated for 2 Oscars. It was supporting actress, I forget her name, for Lena Lamont, and then score. Have you seen this one?
I actually haven't. This is one that I've heard that anytime basically someone watches this for the first time, they're like, oh yeah, this is one of the greatest movies of all time. But no, I am one that has not seen it. And if this my parents are listening to this and they're like, yes, you have, sorry, but I don't remember a thing about it if I have seen it.
You're making me almost question if I want to pick this for Arts v Charts because I love this movie. This is one that I think, like you said, I can show this to anyone and they'll like it. I have
Okay.
yet to show this movie, like people who don't like old movies, I'm like, or don't like musicals, I'm like, ooh, watch Singin' in the Rain. They like Singin' in the Rain because
Yeah.
it's a blast. There is one thing, this is a 5-star movie for me. I've debated going to 4.5 stars for basically one reason only. So I'll just give this minor critique and then I'll talk about everything I love about it. There's one like 15 to 20 minute long scene called the Broadway Ballet. And I think it is ham-fisted into this stupid movie. No, it's a lovely movie. It's a stupid sequence. Where I feel like it's just the Gene Kelly ego trip. Because here's the thing. Gene Kelly, like, no one liked him. Writers didn't like him. Directors didn't like him. Actors didn't like him. Like, he was a douchebag. He made Debbie Reynolds cry on multiple occasions. There was one song, the Good Morning song, where she ended up like having to take a few days to recover because she burst so many blood vessels in her feet.
Oh my gosh.
And so even doing all that work, all that training, and then literally putting her blood, sweat, and tears out on there, Gene Kelly felt like the tap dancing was only mediocre, so he dubbed it over himself.
Oh my gosh. Yikes.
He yelled at her multiple times. So I hate talking about this because he's so great in the movie, but like, I'm just like, let's get the elephant, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Like, he's a jerk.
Okay.
The songs were written before the script was written, and so the script just kind of had to write a story around the songs.
Interesting.
And when the writers asked Gene Kelly what he thought, he said he thought the script was moronic. He yelled at pretty much everyone. Oh, this too. Debbie Reynolds, 19 years old when she did this. So she was a baby, had no prior dancing experience. So she had to learn for this. And again, she was 19 and she had to learn something that Gene Kelly was 39, so he was 20 years older than her. Donald O'Connor and Gene Kelly had been doing this for years. She had to learn. Fred Astaire actually was shooting something in the same lot. He found her crying under a piano one day. And so he actually offered to tutor her for the rest of the movie.
Oh my goodness.
So she worked with Fred Astaire, but like the Broadway ballet sequence, it's like 15 to 20 minutes of the film. I think it's fine to be in there. I don't think it's terribly necessary, but I'm like, fine, if you want it to be in there, whatever. It should be like 8 minutes. It should not be like 20. It is a waste of time. That is the only part of the movie where I'm a little bit like, okay, come on. Like, I remember my family fast forwarding that part when we got to it.
No kidding.
It took a month to rehearse. It took 2 weeks to shoot. It cost a fifth of the budget. It would cost like $600,000 or something to do this 20-minute sequence that doesn't need to be there. And I think it's just there because Gene Kelly was the star and the director, and he wanted to show off for 20 minutes. So they basically were like, sure, Gene Kelly, go off, do whatever you want. So now that I've talked about the one thing that I don't like about it,
yeah.
I love it. I think it's fun. I think that there are some really great, showstoppers, even like the minor songs that aren't like, because obviously there's the iconic Singin' in the Rain, but like there's one song called Moses Supposes that I think is just a blast. Like, it's just a very fun wordplay, really, really like very quick, snappy, quippy. I think it's super, super fun. The other iconic dance number is the Make 'em Laugh, where Donald O'Connor smoked, it was like 3 or 4 packs of cigarettes a day. He did this scene in this dance number that has a whole lot of, he got carpet burns, he like bruises all over his legs and ankles and feet. Did the whole scene. It put him out for like, he had to take like 3 days to recover. Then they found out that the footage was damaged and he had to do it all over again.
No.
But really impressed. I mean, the Make 'em Laugh scene is, you're laughing through the whole thing. It's super impressive. The singing in the rain sequence too, Gene Kelly had a fever of like 103 or something when he did that.
Wow.
And when you watch it, it is impressive. The dance work he's doing, he looks elated too. He's so happy and just beaming. And I'm like, bro, you, like, when you consider that he was like about to pass out, that's impressive. He just looks great doing it.
Wow.
Just, yeah, everything about it. Like I said, it's everything I think a movie musical should be. You've got the bright colors, because that is talking about Wicked, that's one of the things that has given me pause when I've seen clips. It almost looks like there's a filter that mutes the colors, and I'm like, no, for a musical, like, I want it to be big.
Yeah.
I want it to be big and bright and in your face. I want everything to feel like it's full of life and that it's fun and happy, and this does it. It's so funny too. The character of Lena Lamont is just, I mean, she got a supporting actress nom and deserves it because she's so stinking funny. And it's a delightful movie. Like I said, I've shown it to a few people, and every time it's a home run, because it's just, for me, it's everything that a movie musical should be. And that's, again, Wizard of Oz was like right there with this. This one I just give the edge just ever so slightly, because it's about movies too. You know, it's about a company that had to transition from silent films to talkies.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's fun. That's fun. Yeah, that's basically what it is these two leads, you know, Lena Lamont and, what's his name? Don Lockwood are the character names, and they're huge silent movie stars.
Gotcha.
And they start to hear, oh, talkies are going to be a thing, and people are like, there's no way, it's a fad. And then the jazz singer comes out, makes gangbusters, and every studio basically stopped production on everything. And they were like, nope, silence won't sell. We're not putting money into this thing. We are shutting the studio down until we can make talkies. And so that's what the movie's about. It's this conversion from, you know, Hollywood adjusting from silent films to talkies, which is, it's a fun piece of little movie history as well.
Yeah, no, I'll have to put it higher on my watch list.
It's delightful. But anyway, so those are our top threes.
Lovely.
We are doing top threes from now on because we want to have more time to talk about them and not just rushing through them. But Adam, what are we watching?
Great question as always. Obi-Wan should be at the top of our list. That will be our next episode, is the Obi-Wan series. There's some things, so we'll talk through it. I don't know if I've given you much on what I think about it.
You haven't. Yeah, I don't know your opinion on that miniseries.
Yeah. And then Thanksgiving is coming up, so we don't expect many of you to be waiting, you know, early Thursday morning for our episode to drop. So we will not be doing a Thanksgiving day of episode.
No.
Following that, though, we will be doing another Arts versus Charts. We'll kind of decide. So we've already recorded one, and we have another one coming up. But so we have watched The Wild Robot and Wolf Children. So watch those. As always, get your Tom Cruise and Studio Ghibli movies in. Those will be coming up pretty soon. And of course, we'll be looking at some Christmas movies for some more top 3 episodes. So lots of things always. We're always watching stuff. We're always watching new stuff as well. But that's a little bit of what's coming up.
Oh, good. And as always, you know, we really appreciate if you could, you know, share, like, review. We post a lot on social media. We do have an Instagram page where we post clips from podcasts. We have polls, depending, you know, we might do a poll for the next Arts Beat Charts. But yeah, like, subscribe, follow, share if you would, and yeah, go ahead and follow us on Instagram where we're pretty active there as well.
Yep. Thanks to everyone for listening.
Catch you next time.